go, Mr. Driver.
Man, I've been waiting to talk about this game for over 2 decades. Chase HQ is by a significant margin my desert island arcade machine of choice, regardless of the fact that you can complete it in 10 minutes with some skillful playing. During the late 80s, Tatio were firmly in their golden period, with releases of Arkanoid, Bubble Bobble, Darius, Rastan, Rainbow Island and Operation Wolf to name a few. Chase HQ formed an essential part of that period, released in October 1988 and designed by Hiroyuki Sako. The game shares graphical similarity with Sega's Outrun, but with various enhancements including perspective, hill presentation and the continuity of track splits. The hardware used wasn't too dissimilar either, utilising Tatio's Z system which shared the same dual Motorola 68000 graphical and Z80 sound processor setup as the Sega Outrun board, and allowed 5 graphical layers and advanced sprite scaling and rotation. To many, Chase HQ is the spiritual successor to Tatio's Full Throttle, known as Top Speed in some regions. This game was the inspiration for the turbo button, and although a pure racer, was graphically similar to Chase HQ, but based on older Top Speed hardware, also used for Operation Thunderbolt. If you look closely at billboards in Full Throttle, you can see clues already emerging for Tatio's next game, digitised from a Miami Vice press image. Rather than Crockett and Tubbs, however, the lethal weapon-morphed Manhattan cops of Chase HQ go by the names of Tony Gibson and Raymond Broady, working in the Special Chase Unit. The undercover vehicle and also weapon of choice for this duo is a rather sleek Porsche 928, essential for catching those speedy European sports cars driven by criminals of vice. Chase HQ sees you hunting down lawbreakers in high-performance sports cars with the objective of ramming these deviants of society off the road once you've caught up with them. You get 60 seconds to tear through the course and find the offender, with another 60 seconds to smash them off the road. Where the road allows, the 3 turbo boosts at your disposal provide useful 5-second gap closers. If you fly off the track, ram the criminal too hard, or just misjudge your timing and end up taking the longer route and have some catching up to do. 20 pence in the slot would provide you with your first credit, which if you were well seasoned, could take you to the end of the game, given the game's gracious difficulty curve. Each mission is radioed into you by Nancy at Chase headquarters, who proceeds to fill you in on the suspect you're chasing and his car of choice, starting with the Idaho Slasher in a white Lotus Esprit.
Target vehicle is a white British sports car. Over.
Which, although not implicitly named, is evident from its look and the British description. You get a map depicting a somewhat vague street lined with large buildings. Broady then fills you with some words of encouragement.
Giddy up, boy.
And you are off. Gear lever in one hand, wheel in the other. From this point, you experience something that only the arcade cabinet can really produce. It's like all those 80s cop chase sequences combined into one hands-on experience. There's a sense of euphoric coolness. The graphics, music, engine sounds, and digitised speech all add up to provide a visceral excitement of speed and determination as you race against the clock to catch up with your assailant. Take too long and he'll get away. Catch up with him and you get a time extension to smash him off the road. At its heart, the game is still an against-the-clock racer, but this time you have a mission, a purpose, and when you reach your purpose, you have the additional dynamic of manoeuvring your car to cause as much damage as possible without negatively impacting your speed. Observe the massive criminals here, Arrow. Listen to Brody's almost giddy enthusiasm.
No!
Fill the damage meter until the car is on the brink of a nasty explosion, and job's a good one. You can apprehend your suspect, who is possibly Robert De Niro in this instance, and read his rights.
Okay. You're under arrest on suspicion of first-degree murder.
Is that the voice of George Takei? Given these vigilante tactics, you might assume that this is a world where the police require policing, but let's not get too metaphysical in this world of pixelated police. To add variety, you're also faced with a number of track splits accompanied with guidance on the quickest route. Often these shortcuts take you off-road or through a wider variety of obstacles, but navigate these successfully and you'll shave a few seconds off your chase time. Throughout this, the graphics aren't too shabby either, providing a variety of on-screen and rotating sprites, roadside objects, small houses, vehicles and road situations, including that epic sparking tunnel on level 1, the point at which you know you're almost on top of the slasher himself. Although the game doesn't vary much, and it's pretty short with just 5 levels and a 2-minute timer for each, it's one that I've never tired of. although I've yet to play an elusive sit-down cabinet with standing versions far more common. One thing I always note is the flashing siren lights on some cabinets, which really bring the game out of the screen for an authentic experience. Level 2 sees you chasing down Carlos, an armed New York robber in a yellow Lamborghini Countach. Level 3 are the Chicago Pushers in a grey Porsche 959.
Okay. You're under arrest on suspicion of selling drugs.
Level 4 is an LA kidnapper in a blue Ferrari 288 GTO. They're kidnappers, and we're sitting here ramming the crap out of the boot of a car. Let's hope the victim isn't stashed away in there. Level 5 is the Eastern Bloc Spy in a very evenly matched red Porsche 928. Given that 928s have a front engine, it's surprising you never come off worse in these chases, but I guess that's down to your own professional police training, apparently consisting of ramming from the go. Some of these guys were probably looking for a place to pull over until we started smashing them frantically from behind.
Under arrest on suspicion of espionage and first-degree murder.
Of course, such a classic experience wouldn't be right without a slew of home conversions, and Chase HQ is definitely not lacking in that department, although for some reason I never managed to get hold of one in my youth. You couldn't exactly flick on the internet, fire up Amazon and order a game back then. You had to scour magazine adverts or head out on foot and check out your local Woolies, and for some reason I never knew about any of the ports until I'd been blessed with a Sega Mega Drive. And of course it's probably the only machine I owned that didn't see a European release of this classic racer. But looking back, as with most ports, it's a bit of a hit and miss depending on your platform. The main versions which stand out are the heralded Z80 releases, handled entirely by Ocean and released in 1989, with programming work falling to the dutiful John O'Brien and graphics by Bill Harberton. John's efficient programming allowed for animated titles, synthesized speech,
Hold on, man.
and even a satisfactory end-of-game sequence. The game itself was also reasonably paced and fun to play on MSX, ZX Spectrum, and Amstrad CPC ports, a far cry from the Outrun conversions forced upon players just 2 years prior. The story is sadly reversed on the Commodore 64, also released in '89. It feels like a badly strung slideshow more than anything else, with spine-stabbing sound effects and a general desire to euthanize oneself provoked throughout. The same year also witnessed the tech-developed Atari ST version and the rather lazy Amiga port with identical graphics, but I have to say much improved music and actual in-game sound effects. Although not universally well received, this version would have satisfied the pants off me had I owned it back in the day. The frame rate isn't great and the controls a bit spongy, but who the hell cares, it's still unmistakably a playable Chase HQ. The Famicom version came next, which plays well in an 8-bit console arcade conversion kind of way, but never made it outside Japan. The 1990 Sega Master System version had similar sprites, but also a certain amount of charm, making use of the system's increased colour palette. It lacks road undulation, but like its Famicom counterpart, features a car upgrade shop between levels to add a bit of spice to proceedings. Being a game perfect for a quick blast, the Game Boy also was blessed with a conversion, albeit with a fairly intense difficulty curve and repetitive landscape. It also featured different criminal names or crimes, such as Ralph the Car Thief, Antonio the Foreign Terrorist, and Tyrone the Wanted Criminal. I mean, you know this was a lazy port when they couldn't even conjure up a reasonable felony for the last offender. Although the West received numerous ports, the game is much more apportioned in Japan. You've got the decent Japanese machine conversions on the PC Engine and FM Towns, alongside the slightly strange-looking Sharp X68000 version. But also Super Chase HQ on the SNES, featuring a first-person perspective viewpoint, and to rub salt into the wound, a jump straight to Chase HQ 2 on the Mega Drive, which although also available in North America is really just a twist on the original arcade game, featuring a choice of vehicles and different levels. The progression of Chase HQ to its sequels is a strange and littered one, with most people acknowledging the gun-touting 1989 Special Criminal Investigation as the original arcade follow-up, especially Ocean, who intentionally added Chase HQ 2 in front of the home port titles. But Tatio would also release the fairly rare Super Chase Criminal Termination forming the inspiration for the SNES game in 1993, and to confuse things further, and officially named Chase HQ 2 to arcades in 2006. Various other spin-offs would arrive on home machines in between, including Chase HQ's Secret Police on the Game Boy Color in 2000, and Tatio's Ray Tracers for the PlayStation that was described as a loose follow-up to the game featuring very similar gameplay. Tatio also released an arcade spin-off called Crime City in 1989, which sees Gibson and Broady team up for some street-level brawling action. Still, for all these sequels, spin-offs and conversions, this is one game which really only holds up for me in the original arcade format. I mean, I liked Special Criminal Investigation as well, but there's nothing like the simplicity, the excitement and the coolness of the original that has since been captured in the racing genre. It can be hard to find a working cabinet today, but at least do yourself the honour of firing up MAME and having a blast on it. Thank you for watching this retrospective of Chase HQ. There's some more videos below, there'll be plenty more in the future. Watch one, contribute to my Patreon if you want to support the channel, give it a thumbs up if you like this video, share it, subscribe, all that jazz. In any case, thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a good night.
This is Chase Special Investigation Chief, Amos. I want to congratulate you on a great job. I hereby record your heroism and will remember it for a long time to come. For completing 5 missions without a flaw, bless you, Perfect Chaser.
One more try for being a good boy.
Leave it to us, Nancy baby.